Yeah, so when they try and say to you at work that they've studied you and just determined that they judge you to be homosexual, but you don't know it yet, and the reality is you don't want to come forward and say, for the sake of respectful conversational standards in the workplace, and you can sense a religious employer who is going to be prone to snapping if you've got to work out what their this relativistic rig of triggers, which because the engine of belief and faith, I don't trust psychiatrists, uh, unless I mean accessing health rights is supposed to be doable on one's own terms. But you have pharmacists, interestingly, sticking their nose into the business of patients trying to think through problems that were dumped on them at work in the first place by an employer who started saying, "You're a child of God," and you've worked out that on the sly they are trying to think of ways to teach me not to what would be their way of thinking of it, not be served, I guess, to doppel as the video, and that's them viewing it in a morally prescriptive context. And would they why would they assume a Marilyn Manson video is all about the morally prescriptive? You So what the underlying message is, from with that dark poetry, kill me, kill them, you can let everyone die. The only thing immoral in this world is money. The only thing immoral in this world is money. The only thing oral in this world is money. The only thing in this is money. The only thing is me. And then you see the two women in a bind, strapped back to back. And in my case, I identified immediately with feeling that I was there, like in both. Essentially, it is a video that I think proves that it's not true to be saying things like in society that the bisexual community is genetically weak or more prone to mental breakdowns. It's that we care, but if you're into the Christian faith, your instincts are trained even, and some people mix it in with evolution and go, well, stupid monkeys would have probably had to have inbred and we're all inbred. Just endorsing that value on its own, I believe, creates the interest in instigating conflict, um, instigating fights, and over nothing and over no just grounds, because they believe that they owe their legacy of existence to incestuous sexual reproduction. So it suffers, I think, the sex drive. And it was clearly, obviously, a story written by an ancient monarchy that just happened to survive throughout history. But yeah, I do see Genesis as some sort of prince or nobleman in the castle, witnessing a common woman that he felt a mysterious attraction to, and he was besotted by her and the fact that she wasn't his, uh, sister or mother or cousin or whoever the king lines up in ancient monarchs. And so he's sort of saying like, fire upon you, bitch. You were created from a rib. You caused the downfall of the whole species when you ate this apple. And, um, profilers get into modeling. We'll take a rib with it, put an apple at the tip, or pomegranate under the leaves, hiding their shame. This is more plausible because of evolutionary facts now. It's just so much more plausible that this is the story of an inbred monarchist who experienced sexual jealousy in relation to a woman amongst the commoners. And look what then biblical literalists have done with such a story. And they'll even say it openly, like, well, you go, who did Adam and Eve's children sleep with to make babies? And they go, oh, each other. And like, they're really happy about it, but yeah, that instinct of accepting or being open to accepting that we owe the origins of Homo sapien to inbreeding people or inbreeding monkeys. It just does something to right to the heart of. It's like when I'm driven by Canberra Hospital, and I said goodbye to a stepfather there. I was born there, and there's a ephemeral sense of how I've since been enforced. Since the psychiatric enforcing, I've remind them that I'm well aware of my rights, and given what lack of help psychology seeking was for my blood father, just being under the Mental Health Act, I had an arrangement with the doctor that I could get dexamphetamine because concentration issues and depression to the point of making too many mistakes in a job now, if it's a status quo sort of job. It's such that it's a required substance, but I was trying to think my way back out of getting told to show respect for religion. But see, I even think we're more spiritual as unbelievers concerning the afterlife, because it's as if they've already contradicted themselves by stepping in and politicizing and saying, well, these are the rules for the afterlife. We flip heads or tails. Heads, you're going to heaven. Tails, you're going to hell. Basically, and Spong wants to argue that heaven's real, but states that the church invented hell. What I would debate him on, because I think he's almost reaching the same conclusion himself, is that as we acknowledge the works of Copernicus and go, well, yeah, we live on a globe. We live on a spheroid-shaped globe. So we've updated that from the four corners of the Bible, which I don't think it takes a detective to go, the people must have been so enslaved that when they would see a grandstanding monarchist read from a unfolded papyrus manuscript. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. They tremble and shake to the point where they're imagining that, despite the fact of the shadow of the earth being cast on the moon, their values are also dictated to them by doctrine on four-cornered pieces of paper that they imagine in transference of that the whole earth is of the same shape. But we updated that to, a chaotic globe where we get that now. So the humanity of Jesus inspired the talk of his divinity. So where are we at now? What do we say? I know the Freemasons I used to work for were saying he was a poofter and was a gay, but what I honestly think is that if you had genuine humility of manner and speech and dialect amongst groups of women and men at that point in time, with such attrition and death, punishable by death for male to male affection, would have caused, if gay would have provoked, I can't make love, the law's not letting me make love, and interest in wanting to discuss philosophy with women probably wouldn't have been present, because the political system would have literally had him by the balls. If so, I don't think that Jesus was gay. A monarchist political structure is a human invention, but a bisexual individual is a product directly of nature. I'm convinced. The only reason primarily that we're marginalized in this LGBT community, where even other people in the community, lesbians, gays, transgenders, will say if you're bisexual, it means you're in between. You can't make up your mind yet. You don't, which is to imply you don't know who you are, or don't have a fortified watch philosophy understanding of selfhood, what you stand for, and what your values are, and things of this sort. And I see that as just a Xerox, a degenerate Xerox of the sacrifice. The dogma of this Jesus was a human sacrifice. Okay, it was. So he chose to. I mean, you're conflicting last words in Matthew and Luke, and it can't just be translation, idiosyncratic differences. It's completely in principle different last words. One book that he's saying, my father, why hast thou forsaken me? And then the other one is saying, Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit. So he's giving his life away in one of them, and he's wailing that he's dying unjustly in another book. So, neither, I think, happened, though I do think that, I do think that the crucifixion was unjust, as far as we can go from trying to be evidentiary about these matters. but yeah, if you want to get into judging of people, what what's I challenge myself with the question, who am I to judge? And when I think of my childhood and I see World Vision commercials and mothers struggling to try to get clean water out of the nearest water source to feed the baby, and I just say to myself, you aren't that humble yourself, Luke, and 9 million children die every year prior to reaching the age of 5. Um, yeah. And any God who has all power and all knowledge, given the state of affairs here, I either can't do anything just to stop it, in which case, and set things right, in which case he would be impotent without power. Does he have the power but not the knowledge or willingness? Then then he's malevolent, and barbaric, destructive. Is he both able and willing to prevent evil? Then whence cometh all the evil? Is he neither willing nor able to prevent evil? Then why call him God? And this is what I think is important to break through, because it can go all the way. It's what brainwashing is. It can go all the way to, and it's not. It's like the adversary to art, because we understand in art that there's implicit symbology, even in music videos. So there's implicit concepts in the visuals of the video clips, and so but the religious right is doing. It's like I can see a war between the two of them. Religious right have the teaching out of the Bible, the Christian Bible, making sure that it's rammed into the heads of what the younger the better, they would say. That Mother, Father, who did Cain killed Abel? So there were only 3 humans, Adam, Eve, and Cain. Does Cain have a baby with his mother Eve? And if you were to actually, I reckon really sensitive minds could put their trust in this story and become sexually sick to the point that they wind up on a criminologist show, you know. But what in all seriousness in medicine do we cleave to from the Bronze Age? You know, leeches, bleeding with leeches. You know, why is it that we are dismissing certain ideas, but when it comes to this obnoxious, parsimonious formula, essentially, that, you know, we are the inbred Christians. Let's track down and kill a bisexual. That's me speaking on behalf of the agenda of the religious right. I'll tell you that the bisexual heart is you're not really bisexual if you're in a relationship with a girl then, and she's saying, you're not really, even though you're not really bisexual. Like, where did you get your idea that bisexual means like more or less fuck everybody? That's absolutely not the case. Um, and Bowie's widow now, Iman, beautiful, beautiful woman, and what I found to be impressive, and I thought all the feedback I would get about the social skills uh, grew to the point that I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could do something better, something that might mean something, and uh, because rather than be a subject of study and malpractice diagnosis, you'll know I'm only run down, tired because of what happened in 2010. You'll know I'm gonna get there and tend to business. Yeah, so there's a captivating sense of, it can be non-sexual love. For you wind up getting told by other people that you soak up facts, your memory recall's good, you don't need to rehearse much when you speak, come up with funny jokes, use of language, and it really just on the level of uh, emotionalism, it's that you just do care to hear what each person has to say. But yeah, from my experiences, it's just reinforced what was the horrid nightmare of my early childhood, and that is that Christianity is very disturbing. It's very disturbing. Communion, I take offense to. I take offense to the crucifixion. I take offense to even changing the poor man's last words into two contradictions just for some more mockery. And then this fourth gospel, John, where in the beginning the Word was with God, and the Word was God, then the Word became flesh. And to me, it just reads of the Bronze Age being biphobic as fuck. But that's the point I'm prepared to debate, because the definitional segregation off into this LGBT community does result in a stereotype whereby everyone is judged you to not know who you are or what you stand for, and all the way on to the level of the heart, because that's how that's how the police state mentality works. Yeah, so if their view is that you're so self-conflicted, the result is come out and become homosexual, find a male, and start fucking him. My sense of affection with the majority of men I've known hasn't involved even visualizations of genitalia or anything. Because of my childhood, most men think that violence is something I would enjoy or be proud of, or if I'm made to believe in God, as soon as it's pressed on me to try to consider God, I instantly go emotionally and insane. Like I just cannot handle it. No, I've had to go through my mum being so heavily indoctrinated by her father that she was blind to the effects of Christianity on a Greek bastard who'd grown up unfathered. So he'd go out to dine at Indian restaurants with my mother and see a couple of dudes sitting at another table and invite them to come and sit with my mother and him. And what I think this is that it's not, yeah, it goes back centuries if you look it up, but the Greek genetics aren't, well, it's been in the culture in the past of more liberal stances on sexuality, and but yeah, my argument to the LGBT community is that in defense of the orientation that we choose to stand for on an individual level, as we live it, we're living it by demonstrating that we do care for everyone, and the rights of everyone. Because, yeah, what the sense that I got from Capital Chemist employers telling me to come out and be gay was also that they thought I had views or values about enjoyment or approval of the harming of women, even stabbing of women, and so atheism is really what began to heal me from about 2001 onwards. I couldn't explain why, but I'd noticed that I drunk physically working at the Uniting Church ministry, and yeah, Christianity makes me hone in on key points of why I'm opposed to the fascism of the Christian agenda, and I intend to explain that stance in my own words in my upcoming book, which I am calling in honor of Newton, Antichristus Principia Unbeliever. And yeah, the fact that Jesus had earned some credit for helping people in his travels, and they were a bit frightened or whatever, and he said, you have little faith. Now today you're taking that to believe in the existence of all sorts of characters and but yeah, as far as talk of the afterlife goes, being an agnostic in the hardcore sense of imposing a limitation of knowledge conclusively on this point, where you say, no, I don't know if there's an afterlife, you don't know either. There's no way to know until we are clinically dead here. So whether we are just like a conglomerate of various organisms, cells, or if there is something more. What I can't stand is what you see done in America, where they'll say if you phone in, make a donation of 100, you'll be go into the gates of heaven. If you send 150, we'll give you a staircase, golden staircase to get to heaven. Phone now and give us $150. And the hype. But I think it's also confusing people. Why are courts of law in the United States holding the statue of the Ten Commandments out the front of them? I mean, why would you want to represent as a court that this is something you're proud of? You know, any one of us, the first graders, could write better and more considerate Ten Commandments than that which is credited to Moses. Yeah, so I have to make some stance, some kind of reaction for sake of the defense of my bloodlines, which we aren't that pure. Of all the political secrets that the monarchy would reserve to itself, you'd think they would keep incest in a garden to themselves. Like, yeah, yeah, not one to brag about. So, yeah, I'll close this one up now. As you probably can now tell, some friends have cut me off Facebook because they saw me as babbling too much and too tangentially, but at the same time I had to express a bunch of wrongs that I had to endure, so be it making music or DJing here or trying to think of song lyrics. It's what I do to calm myself. And what I think we have amongst the fucked up childhood club survivor pact is that's why it's why we take particular offense to you know, having suffered and then noticing yourself as eccentric and on the outside of society, but then knowing that you have a way to express yourself so that people who are oppressed will feel more at ease. And the empowerment of women Christopher Hitchens was talking about to his dying day, debating Tony Blair while going through chemotherapy. And I think it's acknowledging the actual facts about what would have gone on when the male monkey had gone out to acquire food for the mother and the child, and that leaves the mother to have been a phenomenal educator and nurturer and educator. So I definitely also do think it's this Genesis story that has been, excepting the Queen, of course, used to oppress women and to promote misogynist ideas. You just have to add that drunk bogan spin to the mix of um yeah, that so it's just down to God as the creator of everything and Adam as his creation, and that's called the completeness of creation. So neither, Adam had to tell God he was lonely, and then woman was created from his rib. Then she wanders off, and a snake tempts her, tempts her to eat an apple. And then original sin is born. I would love to thank for my early childhood the sense of evidentiary company between myself and observing the amazingness of the mind of Yahoo Serious, who played young Einstein, Reckless Kelly, and Mr. Accident. I've loved the guy. I used to go around writing on walls E equals MC squared as a kid. But yeah, I mean, Michael Martin has a book out called "The Case Against Christianity." There are good and there are poorly written books, and I myself have been self-disciplinary in that I am stripping down the final draft that will be for submission to as much non-autobiographical content as possible. Although at the time that a poignant philosophy lesson impressed upon me, I'd be able to recite the time and talk to you about, explain what these ideas were. But philosophy's only gotten more beautiful as time passed, from Einstein's debates with Niels Bohr, which is where they both agreed that Einstein credited Niels Bohr, which a scientist is supposed to do. If you've worked your whole life on a theory and another scientist can come and disprove it, the custom of the scientist is to shake the other scientist's hand, because it's really the pursuit of truth that a pure scientific mind is invested in. Not cash. Not just think of the money. Just think of the money, said Peter. Just think of the money. I do. It's $15.95 an hour, and I've got a fucking sore back from this unergonomic Webster room. So yeah, I can never be made to understand why like a show even wants to say that they care about justice, that they think they're informing people with accuracy, when their metaphysical and epistemological basis for theorems of knowledge are tipping their hats in hope of honors one day to the Queen, who has only really left you with the indication that the Bible is, in her opinion, the greatest book of inspiration. Yeah, inspiration to, obviously not to hate it. She's the head of the Church of England. But anyway, yeah. I had wine with a friend yesterday, and it was good to get to have conversations off the topic of um, my opposition to Christianity. I just know that a false word was put out about me, um, and it's a reflection of Freemasonry's contempt for Christians. But I would even probably, I think, stick up for and defend the Christians in an argument about who's morally superior between the Christians and the Freemasons. Because what can happen in Christian circles is that change and conceptual change for which we are may not be initially comfortable, because it takes quite a lot of thinking through, is only making its way to us through art. It's in, I think it's Coma Black on Hollywood, in the shadow of the Valley of Death. The line, I burn all the good things in the Eden eye. We were too young to run, too dumb to run, too dead to die. Yeah, burn all the good things in the Eden eye. Yeah, and so it's the between the lines. Reading between the lines will give you the fact that I can't find anyone to argue otherwise. There's no scriptural meaning of additional partners to Adam and Eve. So yeah, that embracing this idea as the height of creation and creation in the image of God, being concealed incest, can, I think, foster anything from a pedophile to Rolf Harris and his wobble board to yeah, to Roger Toll and Gary Cairns. When they call you Pufta, they have in their heads they have like a pendulum swinging from side to side of them when it swings to the left, they're at the Freemasons gathering point, playing around with technology. And when fuck. I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. I haven't had sleep in 2 days, and I've nearly spoken for an hour. Yeah, so my challenge is if you can actually have it this, like I'm asking and inviting the scrutiny of this challenge I've put forward, because I'd love, if it's disproven, I'd love to hear how and why. I've researched, the Gospels thoroughly and the New Testament rather thoroughly. I've even Carolyn Oates, an artist that I admired in the church years, gotten out of organized religion. So what I see it as is an incestuously charged curse against the bisexual community. Because that's who, and if they were too inbredly dumb to not recognize they'd broken a man probably with effeminate traits, so he's carrying his own cross up a hill. Because he was broken by attrition from false accosting. So, but then to say that, and to say that that King Herod kill the man for his love, or you know, say something that break. I'd like to know, yeah, I'd like to know more about the policies of monarchism. But yes, since its contingent implications are absolutely disgusting at certain points, I do not understand why we're seeing. Well, yeah, I've speculated that, but nonetheless, if journalists, unless I want to say that they're just being tosses that don't care about the truth, they just want to sell stories, then I know from personal education that that's a betrayal of more or less their oath and care of duty. I enjoy journalism, and I write in my spare time quite a lot. Yeah, so you've got the testimony of the Queen to King Herod completely left out of the Bible altogether, and Wikipedia saying that King Herod had 4 queens during his reign, so he was a bit, chowing through them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is the bet that seeing Jesus speaking to men and then women, it's reminiscent to the king and queen of their stance in public address? So they make sure that in the later Gospels there's more teachings of Jesus saying, yeah, I'll take you on, along with the insertion of miracle stories. That we now know is that would have violated natural laws of physics. The reason so it's twofold. The reason that I offered this paradox to you to think of is, has Christianity cursed something of a suicide cult on the people of Australia? And is it warping our growth, our form, lending us to believe in an even bigger cult, that of psychiatry, where they want to say, you did something but don't know when. I know that I've not contradicted the right to movement since what I decided was going to be the final sibling rivalry, because our circumstances are extenuating and I needed to be a booster. Yeah, but so I do think that Jesus was quite probably an unrecognized and oppressed bisexual. It would have weakened him to feel suicidal enough to carry his own cross up a hill, not because he was bearing our sins, but because there's a political ban on male-to-male affection, and doesn't understand why that's in place, but it's a wedge against basic autonomous emotions. So what you experience, part of being bisexual, you can absolutely have a sense of an adorable connection uh, with another's mind, and they don't necessarily have to be sex. I think John 3:16, yeah, gives them everything from, blame the bisexual for this. Um, also the bisexual will fuck everyone. I think that's all offshoot stereotypical rubbish from the logistics of John 3:16. Um, and this greed to know, like, I want everything, and I want to know that I'm still gonna live forever in heaven, even though it's tantamount to, well, it's been directly lied to. That they've got to come up with a new location because there are still existing maps of how they thought the three-tiered Earth was shaped. I've looked off to the side in this, haven't I? Tangential as anything. Yeah. So my belief is that one thing I stand for is this idea that imposition of monotheisms, theologies, and God belief, um, subservitude and submission, and owing one's life to God via God belief, um, and the absurd belief of Jesus being able to transmit magically his life force from the crucifix on. Um, yes, so I would speculate that with the ban on homosexual love and being potentially a first century bisexual, um, feminine traits would have been pushed more, and I think there's more evidence of that in Mark and in the Gospel of Mark's teachings. But yeah, I do see it as a crime fiction. Um, the four Gospels put together, crime fiction, because they don't want to stay in the hands of the king and queen. I think they're saving that one for their mother later on this evening. Um, they don't want dishonor against the name, so they try to transfer the dishonor in. Uh, so the clever, I suppose, thing about it is that it's done in such a way that they could represent that they have claimed caring, have cared for him and for Jesus of Nazareth and what he stood for. Um, yeah, so this supernatural, and I find it amongst psychiatrists. I turned back and asked some questions like, are you Christian? Did Christianity motivate you to become a psychologist, psychiatrist? And she's like, yeah, I do think there's life after here. I'm cautious about the concept because, yeah, I wouldn't like to put a name to almost what I do believe in. Um, there's some things I can't give everything away. Um, Um, yeah, so you you begin to a new language unfolds um, in the mind where new potentials and causalisms become like second sense, second nature. Um, it's not impersonating a law enforcement officer, or I believe in absolute free expression as an artist, but um, this is of course in agreed, consented, um, collaborating with other artists. Um, and I might go and speak with the uni about about what it is I think I have to say, because I know that why I was preyed upon in 2010 by Roger Toll had more to do with my length of hair and my physical appearance than anything else. Because he's conflicted in the sense that his religion has taught him Jesus Christ was just a martyr, and you're now out to martyr um, by sending people into the fucking psych ward and calling them schizophrenic. Now, yeah, if their question to you upon meeting them is, "Are you gay or straight?" Then it shows that they haven't made room either by deliberative choice or instinctive blind spot to Um, well, how do we know that that's not the way it started? Because yeah, they're applying all these concepts of psychology, whatever concepts they can get on, whatever forms of reasoning. But as soon as they try to point those reasons at their faith story, uh, they'll see how they're they'll see how they're creating you sick and then commanding you to be well on pain and threat of eternal torture. Yeah. Haven't really ever believed in the devil. Um, I remember being very young and a friend of mine had a cool Ghostbusters 2 torch that flashed various characters out of Ghostbusters on the wall, and that looked really sick. I better go. Out of time anyway. Let's do the time.